Me now is a woman that is so formidable that, I suggest you find yourself somewhere comfortable, relax, sit, and just listen. I myself, actually, I was so tempted to just make popcorn and just listen to her rattle on as I play like this song, that song. But alas, Mumbi was like, the blow. No. No hosting and no eating simultaneously. That is not allowed. So I blame Mumbi for having to engage because her story, her essence is so rich. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you, Dr. AOMO OMORO.
Thank you so much, Olivia. I could not be pleased and blessed and privileged and honored and all those wonderful things. Thank you so much for having me.
Farah Esani, Farah, thank you for connecting us. Farah has a fantastic little curio store at the Village Market. She's one of the most amazing souls you will ever meet. And, Dr. AOMO, let me just ask you, I need excerpts. Yeah. I need those highlights in your life that have led you to this moment because it has brightened up my soul.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Olivia. So I will try and excerpt it because I tend to go off. But, if someone asked me to script my life to where it is right now, I honestly could not redo that. And first and foremost, I think I just have to be so thankful, number one, to God. And number two, for those key people he's placed along my path to just help guide and open doors where they couldn't be opened. So first and foremost, I'm Kenyan. I'm Luo. Home is Muhoroni. And for those of you who've been there, it's nothing but sugarcane. Absolutely nothing but sugarcane. Niang. And so we'd go there when school was out. And I remember one time thinking, this is ridiculous that when people are sick, we have to drive to Kisumu. For those who know that, it's about 50 kilometers. Imagine a sick kid just desperately ill and you have to drive to Kisumu. And as a 12-year-old girl, I said, I am going to put a stop on this. And the only way to do that is I'm going to medical school. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, I didn't know what. I'm going to medical school. And so, like most of us people or kids in Kenya, dad says you have to do well, and that's what you did. Well, my dad went beyond that and said, well is not good enough. You are going to be first in your class, not second. First. And me, as one of the 8 kids, I said, yes, Daddy, I will do just that. And so I did.
Wow.
So, isn't that ridiculous?
It's amazing.
It's amazing. But, one of the key things, Dad used to wake us up at 3 a.m., the whole lot of us, and to study for an hour. And he'd stay up with us. Why? Because he said, you are going to be first. And so I'm going to do my part in helping you do that. And so being first opened doors for me. I went to Kenya High School. My sister, who is now deceased, one day comes home and says there's a scholarship being offered by CIDA, Canadian International Development Agency, for one person in the country to an IB college. And I think you should apply. Sophie.
Is it Pearson?
Pearson.
Pearson is an amazing college in Vancouver.
Vancouver. You're familiar?
I'm familiar. Well, I grew up in Canada, but that, notwithstanding, I also have a friend who went to Pearson. And it's also one of those schools that takes you to Ivy League and all those scholarships, maybe Oxbridge as well.
There we go.
Fantastic.
So that was my stepping stone.
Yeah.
I jump out of Kenya to Pearson College in Vancouver. From there, another door opens. I go to Oakwood College, a church school, because my parents are Seventh-day Adventists at the time. They say, that's where you're going. And there, someone sees me. Again, all these people that see you and open doors and says, you're really bright, you're really good in sciences, you're really compassionate. What do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a scientist and a doctor.
Yes.
I said, good. Apply for this scholarship. So I applied to a scholarship that leads me to Tulane University in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Amazing.
I go to medical school and graduate school. So I have a medical degree and a PhD.
All from Tulane, all in New Orleans?
All in New Orleans, all from Tulane, all overachieving like crazy.
Oh my God. I love everything about you. I love everything about you. Okay, continue.
Oh, I'm just extra. So anyway, so I do all that. And then I decide, what do I want to do in medicine? I love using my hands. And I couldn't be anything but a surgeon. Then you decide what kind of surgery. And I said, well, of course, head and neck.
Okay, wait, no. How? No. No, you are the first head and neck surgeon that I have met.
Really?
All right. So I want to find out how and why head and neck.
Okay. So, there are many different kinds of surgeons, as everybody knows. I wanted to go to the most complex area that gives me the most variation in medicine. And by that, I mean the head and neck area is maybe the smallest part of your body, but it's the most complex in terms of anatomy. You have your eyeballs, you have your nose, you have your mouth, you have your brains, you have your ears, which are different systems. So it's
Yes.
extremely complex.
Yes.
Surgeries in that area are extremely intricate.
Yes.
They only train very few such surgeons a year in the US. It's highly competitive. So you kind of have to know your stuff.
Let me tell you. Okay, Mumbi, let's end everything. I can go home. Yeah, I can officially say thank you so much, Mr. Orlando Leomo. I'm out. Because keep going.
So me, I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm going to do.
Yes.
And then it allows me to treat things both with surgeries and medicines. It allows me to treat kids from 0 all the way to 150 years old.
Yes.
So the variation is great. Plus the people I was training with, although they were all men, I can't even say mostly men, they were all men.
Yes.
Seemed to be the happiest men I knew in the surgical field.
Wow.
So I said, there must be some kind of balance in this. So that's what I did. So that's my medicine career. I've been doing it now for over 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you've been practicing exclusively in the US?
I have been.
So you go through all of this. You start off in the sugarcane fields. Yeah. You go to Kenya High School.
Yes.
You go to Pearson. Right?
Yes.
You go to, what school did you go to after Pearson?
Oakwood College.
Oakwood. Then you end up in Tulane.
Yes.
You graduate as a head and neck surgeon.
Yes.
Okay, but you've dressed me today. So
I
now
have.
I'm so confused. But we're gonna pause. We're gonna get to that because I can't even imagine the experiences you've had that led you now to this seat. First off, when you said you just graduated as a head and neck surgeon and you chose that path because you're like, it must be the most difficult of all the surgeries. Yeah?
Yes, because I'd been bred to do my best. I wanted to achieve and get the very best that this one life that I have on earth can give me. So why go for less when I can get everything?
So how far back was that? When was that when you graduated?
So I graduated and completed my residency, as they call it in the US, in 2008. So I've been a practicing head and neck surgeon since 2008.
Tell me now about your journey since then.
Okay, then. So, medicine takes up every single ounce of energy and time in your life. So I had to put a few things on hold.
Yes.
But those few things on hold were on hold externally. But internally, I was still a girl. I'm still a woman. I'm still a female. I'm still a fashionista. There's all these other things that I really wanted to do in life. So once I reached where I felt, the medicine is on autopilot. I'm good. I'm not good enough. I'm really good. And so I can now turn and pivot and do other things.
Yes.
I went back to my other loves. My other loves are 4.
Okay.
So the medicine's one of them.
Yes.
Fashion. How can you not dress up and feel good?
Yes.
I mean, beyond just looking good, fashion just makes you feel good. You can actually, studies have been done where it's very, very closely associated with mood.
Yes.
I grew up in a family of 6 girls. Mom was a seamstress. Yes. Mom would buy one big chunk of lesso and say, girls, what do you want?
Everyone who comes in here says, my mother was a seamstress.
My mother was a seamstress. Anyono charan ma. So I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Sisters, I love you guys, but I don't want to look like you.
Yes.
So whenever we were sketching for Mom to make,
yes,
mine and my sister Rose's were just over the top.
Yes.
I continued to sketch. I studied in the US where you go shop off the rack and there's a gazillion things that look the same. I'm like, no, that's what I really hated. So I'd find myself either buying and then altering, or better yet, I'd sketch and whenever I could come home, I'd have someone make it.
Yes.
So all these things I was having made at home in Kenya, I'd take back and someone would invariably take it off of me or buy it off of me.
Yes.
And I'm like, guys, come on. So a friend of mine said, I have an idea. Why don't you just do a trunk show? Why all these things we're getting off of you? Can you make us some?
What is a trunk show?
Okay. A trunk show is whereby you make some products. People use it either for promotion, for marketing, for testing. I use mine for testing. You make a whole bunch of products, have a nice small group. You go to a place. Mine was my home. I said, come on over. I have stuff. And you display these things for whatever purpose you're doing it for. For me, I was trying to see whether I could really sell it.
Yes.
Well, in 2 hours, I made 8,000 USD.
I cannot believe how multi-talented you are. That one minute you're like, yes, doctor, that neck needs to be, And then the other minute you're like, yeah, let's do a trunk show. I'm going to buy some fabric. I'm going to sketch some designs. I'm going to bring out the chana. And then I'm just going to sell them for $8,000. Like, what's
this was crazy. And this is where I felt, oh my goodness, people are going to discover that I did not go to FIT. I didn't go to, Fashion Institute of New York. I'm just a surgeon. Anyway, so those people who came, then were like, where can we buy more? And I was like, I don't know. But that's where OdAOMO was born.
Exactly.
The demand was created first. And
I get it. It was in your house, Odi.
Yes.
And your AOMO, OdAOMO. That's your very first.
Boom. The lure girl never goes away.
Never goes. Inaloteroa Canada, inaloteroa US, inaloteroa UK.
Wanjo lure Kanya, Wadua go all the time. So the lure girl never went away. OdAOMO, House of AOMO. I'm also named after my grandma. I'm child number 6, which is unusual for us lures.
Yes.
Someone ahead of me should have had that name.
Yes.
But for whatever reason, my mom saw, that I should be.
Yes.
And I've lived up to that. I feel like I need to represent that woman.
Yes, and you have.
OdAOMO. So that's the brand.
What year was that?
2014 is when I was formally born.
So that's 6 years after you were now a practicing surgeon. Okay.
Correct.
Yes.
And so since I was in the US, I could manage a brand better. My first flagship shop is in the US. It's in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yes.
So suddenly I'm backtracking. I get a space. I have a shop. So now I have to fill it up. Yes. I have to come home and find people to make it because that was really near and dear to my heart. If I was starting a clothing brand, it needed to be made back home.
Yes.
With Kenyan hands, with Kenyan people, fair wages, support people on whose shoulders others can stand on when they stand on mine. So that's always been my thing. It has to be, it will never go to China. It will never go to another country. And so we make very small batches, very small, exclusive things. So I'm not stressing out my fundies.
Yes.
They stress me more than I stress.
Wait, I'm going to backtrack a little bit because you said you had 4 loves. The first is medicine. The second is fashion. Third and fourth?
Number 3, I needed to start a foundation.
Okay.
Now, me, this Luo girl who lives in Muhoroni with parents from Ahero, people are like, how did you do it? How did you make it to the US to be a head and neck surgeon and do well in a boy-dominated? I'm like, I'm not special. You can do it too. And so my foundation called Blooming Lily was the other thing I always wanted to start.
Yes.
To show people, but mostly girls, how you can do what I did. I don't have special powers. I don't have special favor. It's just a matter of combining a whole bunch of things. So Blooming Lily was born in 2014 as well. Yes. And it's a US-based organization, but we do work back here in Kenya. So now for 6 years now, we stopped for COVID. We've taken 25 girls at a time to an all-paid 4-day retreat during which we show them that, number one, you're special, you have a purpose, you need to fulfill it.
Yes.
If you don't fulfill it, no one else will. This world will miss out on that. Number 2, how do you create a path towards it? Number 3, what are the obstacles you might find? Number 5, how do you load up your basket of tools is what I call, whether that be education, whether that be, how do you load up your basket of tools to help guide you along the way? And should you fall, how do you get up from it so you keep going?
Yes.
So we've taken 25 girls at a time from Sotik and from Kindube, 4-day paid retreat. We work through all of these things. Mental health is a huge thing. Teenage pregnancy is another. HIV is another. Lack of motivation is another. Lack of just awareness that you can be.
Yes.
Lack of awareness that you have wings, spread them, fly, So that's what we do with the foundation. That was my number 3. Number 4, stay tuned. It's in the works.
I cannot believe that she just went there, but I absolutely love it.
I did.
4.4 SpiceFM. Good morning. I am Olivia Otero. This is OdAOMO Direct. Women host, women songs, women guests. Focus on a different woman in fashion every single week. And my woman in fashion this week is extraordinary. You are extraordinary.
No. As I think we all are extraordinary and either know it or don't. And we either live in it or not. That's it.
The law in us will always say.
Yeah. But do we say?
So we've gone through number 1, which is medicine.
Yes.
We've gone through number 2, which is fashion.
Yes.
We've gone through number 3, which is your foundation, Blooming Lily. And what's the inspiration behind that title?
Blooming Lily. So I always knew I was going to do a foundation, but when my sister Lily passed, it was so crystal clear as to, number one, the direction of it and the name of it.
Yes.
So blooming lily is kind of a double play on the words. Honoring my sister Lily, who passed under circumstances I'll let you know in just a minute. But the flower lily, I feel like all of us females are flowers.
Yes.
And flowers start out as a tiny little stalk, a green thing, and then a bud appears, and then you water the bud, you sunlight it, and then it grows and opens up blooms.
Yes.
Only when it blooms can you then see the true colors of the flower. Can you smell the fragrance? And can it pollinate?
Yes.
So unless you bloom as a woman, you have not fulfilled whatever purpose that is. Blooming lily, you have to bloom. Now, Lily was my sister, my older sister Lily, who didn't bloom. Now, Lily was very well educated. I always wanted to be like her. She went to Kenya high school, so I followed suit.
Yes.
Lily could speak multiple languages. She was double mastered, like all Luos. 2 master programs. She was a scientific editor for international companies. So with all external measures, Lily was successful. But underneath that, Lily had undiagnosed and therefore untreated depression. That placed her in a situation where she was in an extremely abusive relationship with her husband.
Yes.
And for his sake, perhaps I should not mention his name, but he beat her physically, mentally. And so when Lily got out of the blues, out of nowhere, colon cancer, she didn't get treated.
Why?
Because he said no. Now, the colon cancer, when she got it, was very low in her rectum. I'm going a bit medical here. The treatment would have been a surgical approach where they go cut it out. And when they cut it out, you need to wear this bag called a colostomy.
Yes.
Some people are familiar with it. It's not the most pleasant thing. But I remember Lily telling me that he said that if I wear this bag, he will never touch me again. And this is coming from the mind of an abused woman who's already been made to think that she's small, she's little, you're lucky to have me, you're nothing without me, despite the fact that she was the bread earner of the household. And so Lily said, okay, then what are we going to do about my cancer? And he steps in and said, well, I will treat it. He's not medical in any way. And so they did what they thought was holistic and this and that. And so Lily never got mainstream any treatment.
Were you aware of her diagnosis? Were you aware of her cancer?
Absolutely. And this is where that situation of being abused, the abuser knows who to isolate you from. And so I would come in left and say, Lily, you have a ticket, come to the US, I've talked to my people, we will do this.
Yes.
And then she calls me back and says, and to translate from Luo, she'd say, Ilelo, you're just so stubborn, obnoxious. And these were the words of an abused woman. And she said, nope, we're not taking it. She even came all the way to me to the US, appointment set. She makes a phone call back home to him. She wakes up in the morning, we're not doing it. We decided we're not. And this is that mentality and very, very complicated syndrome of an abused woman.
May I ask, were you aware of the root cause of her depression? Because she might have gotten into this relationship as a result of what she was already suffering mentally.
Yes.
Is there a background maybe?
Yep. Mental health is a really, really, really deep thing. So number one, there's a propensity for getting it. And, there's a genetic trait that runs in the family. Now, a combination of that, what we call the nature, the genetic part of it, and the nurture, the environment, when it completely fits just right, then you get depression.
Okay.
And depression has a spectrum. Some people can mostly feel bad in a few days, but you can get yourself out.
Yes.
Some people cannot.
Yes.
It can be long term, it can be short term. People have different triggers. But you're absolutely right in that, depression is something that you don't catch it. You're born with the genetics of it, and then in the right conditions,
it manifests.
That
is really, one of the most traumatic things you could have told me today. And I just need to understand, is that part of your number 4?
Part of my number 4 is telling the story.
Yes.
Absolutely. I've been lucky, I say, but sometimes unlucky that I'm so interested and vast in what I feel my purposes were, medicine, fashion, all of these things.
Yeah.
But I feel that if I keep it to myself, if I don't tell it, if I don't speak up about those taboo subjects, those things that we women are carrying on our own, and thinking you're the only one going through it, I've done nothing. I will have failed.
Yes.
So part of my number 4 is to hold conversations in groups, in settings, in written form, in spoken form, in just to tell stories and have conversations with the goal of letting women know, and anyone else who wants, that you're not alone. Number 1, you can do it. Number 2, you can beat it. Number 3, you can succeed. And number 4, you can actually reach back and lift someone else.
Yes.
And so in my opinion, unless you go through all of those steps, your life will not have been fully lived.
Wow. You held a talk recently.
I did.
Last Friday.
I did.
Succinctly, because my producer is giving me the evil eye. Succinctly, tell me about how that went.
It went beautifully. We called it The Lady Boss, the triumphs, trials, and tribulations of women who walk in red-bottom palms like you. That's it.
Roby is listening. The world, right? The world, thanks to one Matthew Shahi, is watching live. Standardmedia.co.k. If you want to say, Dr. Aomo.
Yes.
Niluo, you guys switch from your local accent
as needed.
to your international accent. That's just our upbringing, man.
As needed. It's a lifestyle. We have to manage ourselves in whatever situation.
I'm telling you, I am with the most incredible, the most intelligent, the most talented and formidable, yet humble, even in her lowness. Yeah? Dr. AOMO OMORO.
Oh, my. Thank you.
This is Double O Direct. I am Olivia Otieno. Women on the track, women on everything. Dressing me, literature, music, guests. And I want to know more about now your brand, OdAOMO.
Oh, so OdAOMO, first of all, gives me joy. I always say that unless my heart is filled, I cannot overflow it to someone else. So that's where I find my joy.
Yes.
In medicine, I have to follow rules. I can't go experimenting on new techniques. You know how it is. At OdAOMO,
I don't know how it is.
Oh, you don't know how it is. Weangisi, I'm telling you, that's how it is.
That's how it is. I like how you're treating me as a colleague. You know how it is. No, I do not. But thank you for, enlightening me.
Yes. Okay. You can't break rules in medicine.
Yes.
At OdAOMO is where I break all the rules. I love that I never went to fashion school.
Yes.
And so I have no idea what the rules are. So I just do what I think, I feel, and want. But it's where I've been like, if I saw this woman who depicts something, and the something could be joy, the something could be whatever you're feeling on that day. I feel like what you wear on a particular day is your armor. And when you go out into that world for that day, you need to bring a certain kind of armor. Sometimes it's just your earring. Sometimes it's a brass belt. Sometimes it's the whole outfit. But whatever you need to go conquer the world that day, that's OdAOMO, to make you feel powerful.
I walked into your store at the Village Market. It's in the new wing.
It is first floor.
I was like, what is happening?
Mango. So this is a funny story. As you see, there's a tree.
Yes.
So when we were building out the space, and I said, I would love a tree in the house. And they're like, are you crazy? And I said, I might be, but yes, I would love a tree in the space. So they had to bring this big cranes to bring the tree. And the guys were saying, why are you bringing takataka ndani a village? I said, it's not takataka, just come and do the tree.
Yes.
The tree was very important to me as a place of healing. We're redoing it now where you can just come and sit under that tree and breathe.
Oh, wow.
I tell my team that it's not what the customer buys, and it's not a customer, it's a guest.
Yes.
It's not what the guest buys, it's how they feel when they leave our space. And so just walk into that space should embody our core, which is joy, love, hope, all those warm feelings.
Yes.
And I hope that we convey that in the styles that we bring.
So tell me about the style. Do you have a particular way in which you work by season? Do you work by collection? Do you work by inspiration? How do you bring about your fashion?
I work by inspiration. Again, I break rules. I'm not doing collections. I'm not doing seasons like there. I just do by demand. My goal was to, number one, I'm vegetarian, I think, like you.
Yes. Hey, that came about. I was like, you're also vegetarian. Thank you so much.
It really breaks my heart when things are killed for fashion. So even the hides and the leathers that I use are byproducts. And that's why you don't see, snake skin and all of this stuff. So I use byproducts. And so from what I have, from what materials I have, what can I make? So I usually work backwards that way. As far as fabrics, I go for small batch. I support two wonderful women, the textile loft, who have small batch Italian high-end fabrics. Why? Because I'm Luo and we have to have it the best of the fabrics. So why not?
Were you at Kasarani yesterday?
No, actually, I
You
missed
were
that
there in
because
spirit like me.
In spirit, I was there, Kabisa. I was there. So I use small batch fabrics,
Yes.
so they're usually remnants. And I feel that my mom told me the fabric will tell you what it wants to be. Meaning some fabric is luxe and crepey and drapey, some is stiff like taffeta, some is silky like satin. It will tell you what it wants to be. You don't fight it. And that's how I work. And then I make a collection. If you know me, including today, I'm always walking around with a sketchbook because I get inspirations from random things.
Yes.
You know, I might look at the window there and I say, oh, that pattern could be this and this. And I sketch it. I keep it aside. Then come time for producing, I go back to my sketches, get the shining star, and then make the supporting pieces around it.
So do you produce on demand, for example? Do you tailor for specific clients for specific events, or are you primarily just off the rack?
Both.
Okay.
We're off the rack with 2 items per style per size. So it's still very exclusive.
Wow.
All right.
Yes.
So you're not going to run around Nairobi and see someone else wearing OdAOMO unless it's one other person.
Yes.
Now, to the other question, a lot of customers have come and say, can you make this for me? Or can you alter this? We do that as well. This is where I'm going to say I'm so proud to have been approached by another woman supporter, Hannah Beachler. For those who don't know who Hannah Beachler is, Oscar-winning, the only woman Black Panther set producer. Found OdAOMO. I didn't go looking for her. She found us, gave us a call and said, I love you guys. Can you dress me for the season? Now, I'm like, what is the season? And she says, my award season. Can you handle it? And I say, of course, I'm Luo. To which she says, my assistant will give you my calendar.
Oh, wow.
Well, the calendar came and I was like, oh my word. But it was dressing her for all the awards she won,
Yes.
including prepping for Oscars. We did make her Oscars dress. They went a different way with that particular dress.
Yes.
But if you look back at her pictures, I got to dress a Hollywood star, this Luo girl.
Amazing. Amazing.
So, yes, we do make special events. We
Yes.
do dress special clients for whatever occasion. Just call us.
Shows. I know
Yes.
you have one tomorrow. Have you had others in the past?
We have. So we participated in Tribal Chic. You know, we were the new kid on the block. We needed to just kind of see and be known. And that was a wonderful platform until, as I feel, our Luo heads just got too big.
Too big. That's always a problem. Your head's too big.
Problem.
Yeah.
I try to keep it. So we're now doing our own show at Hemingway's tomorrow, 3 to 7. I am so proud of this show because from conception to delivery, it's all in-house. What I mean by that is I sat with my team and I said, what message does OdAOMO want to give this year, 2021 December? What message? And we went around and came back to, we want to give the message that is rarely heard because it's missed by the person to whom it's sent. It's missed because it didn't come wrapped up in a tiny little white bow. It's missed because it was not delivered by DHL to your doorstep. It's missed because the packaging, the timing was not what you were looking for.
Tell me about that.
So we went into nature because, you know, I'm a very nature-minded person. I said, what creature is so commonly missed? And we came up with the moth. The moth is a creature of the night. When you look at it in the darkness, you don't see the intricacies of its color. Moths actually have colors. Some are beautiful pinks.
Yes.
And the antennas and they're so beautiful. And so I said, the creature that's commonly missed, that sometimes is there just to let you know, hey, there's a God, there's a creator. Or, hey, the day is coming because I, a creature of the night, I can see it. You know, let's use the moth. And so we designed the fabric.
Yes.
I have a wonderful creative director, talented as heck. He will kill me for this, but Quinton Alexander was season 16, top 10 American Idol finalist. And imagine he fell onto my lap with all his glory. So he digitalized the concept into a fabric that was then manufactured with pieces that tell a story. So tomorrow's show is actually 3 acts, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. We call it the moth, the core, and her message. The moth is the messenger. The core, going back deeply to what makes us human.
Yes.
If I was to take off this title that is honestly just a title of doctor. This beautiful dress that I'm wearing, because I love dresses.
Yes.
If you strip me of all these fluffy external things, what remains in our heart as human beings? And then what message is that? So that's the show tomorrow.
3 p.m. Hemingway's, Nairobi.
Hemingway's has been amazing, has been so amazing. And you know, I told them I want to make a run when they said they've never done that. Well, don't worry, we'll help you. We'll guide you through it. You know, so they've been so gracious. And yes, they're hosting the event at Hemingway's 3 to 7 tomorrow. Limited quantities. We still have a few tickets left.
Yes.
So, you know, call us, DM us, OdAOMO on Instagram. Our website is OdAOMO.com. Just let's see whether we can get you in. We can squeeze you in, maybe.
At OdAOMO. At OdAOMO.
That's it.
It has been such a pleasure, such a joy. The first, but definitely not the last.
I need to know more about you because I'm standing on your shoulders today. That is so important to me as a woman, because I think sometimes we think that if I could take away your light, yours
Yes.
is going to dim. But I'm standing on your shoulders, Olivia. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Farah Essani. Let's not forget her.
Absolutely.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.